Hello, welcome to Global Lives. Today marks the fourth day of our Global Citizen Solutions and Goldcrest Real Estate School Week. Throughout the previous live events, we have delved into the landscape of the international schooling system in Portugal by conducting interviews with educational consultants, parents, school principals, as well as our experts in real estate, visa, and relocation services. So, what we have today. In today's live session, we have two guests who will be sharing their knowledge on education, relocation, and the latest real estate trends in Porto. First up is Natalie Willis Davis, an education consultant, mother, and founder at Sandoria. We are also joined by Fernanda Ferreira, a real estate consultant from Goldcrest, who will provide us with a perspective on real estate trends and keeps us up to date with the property market in Porto. Well, before we start, hi, Natalie. Hi, Fernanda.
Hello, Lisa. Nice to see you.
Good to have you here. Good. So before I start with the two of you, I'd like to go through some housekeeping. So this live session is expected to last around 40 minutes. I will ask our guests a few questions, and then we will open the floor to a Q&A session. Remember, all our live sessions are recorded and available on our social media and YouTube channel. So if you need to leave early, feel free to put down your question here and a member of our team will reply. So we will start now, but before I jump into a conversation with Natalie, because it's not the first time she's here with us, I'd like to talk about the International School Guide that Global Citizen Solutions launched end of last year. So it's available in print, but also online. It is important now at this time of year because that's when now people, parents, families are enrolling their kids into the next school year. So, and we had at Global Citizen Solutions a lot of clients coming to Portugal, relocating and sorting out their visa situation. And when families come, there's also the concern about schools. So they needed to understand where the schools were located and what kind of curriculum were available for them, the teaching languages as well. So we put together this guide, and the guide has some information about the schooling system, public and private schools in Portugal, a bit on primary, second, and higher education, and then comes a breakdown with maps. I'll show you. Here you will see the maps of Lisbon, Greater Lisbon, and then here a bit on central Portugal and Porto, Porto and Braga, right here. Anyway, so it's a very useful guide, and if you are now looking to, so and here comes a bit of a description on each school, and some information about the age gap, some information about fees when the schools make it available, and most of them do, which is great, and some details about the ethos of each school. So it's a good guide. It's all free, and go online and explore, have a look, and see what schools are available there. But now, if you don't have time to go through our guide, I will speak to this A team of specialists that will give us an overview. So, Natalie, I will start with you, if that's okay.
Great. Yes, please, go ahead.
I know our viewers are familiar with you because they've seen you here before, but it's always good to remind them of what you do. So can you briefly give us a bit of your background and introduce us to your company, Sandoria?
Yes, will do. Thank you for the introduction, Gizan. Hello, I'm Natalie Willis-Davis. I'm a French-Dutch New Yorker. My family and I moved to Cascais almost 4 years ago from London. At that point, there were a handful of English language international schools, but new schools were already beginning to open and more expats were flooding in. So I launched my consultancy in 2020 in order to assist these families with their school search. So having gone through the process myself with my 2 school-aged children, I knew how challenging it was to obtain the information I needed to be able to identify the right school. So since then, I've placed dozens of families at schools across the country. My focus is on international schools, but I also advise on private Portuguese schools. I have experience with the various curricula and relationships with all of the international schools and regularly visit them, so my clients obtain the most thorough and up-to-date information.
That's great. Natalie, and tell me, when so clients, when they speak to you, are they located somewhere, anywhere out of Portugal, or do they tend to come to you when they've already moved to Portugal?
So the majority get in touch with me before they arrive in Portugal. You mentioned at the start that families were already looking to enroll for September 2024. And so, yes, I do have clients who are looking to relocate now to Portugal. And so one of the first things they do along with the home piece of things is school. So I'm working now with clients for next September. And so they're still located in their home countries or in another country, not Portugal. But I do also have clients who are located in Portugal and who want to change schools. So maybe they arrived and they've selected a school on their own and it's not the right fit. And then they ask for my help once they're here.
Okay, so that's interesting. We will talk about it later. It just shows how difficult it is, the challenge of finding the right school for your child. But first, I want to speak to Fernanda. Fernanda, can you also give us a brief introduction about what Goldcrest Real Estate does and a bit of about your expertise in the Porto region?
Sure. Nice to meet you, Natalie, first of all, and thank you for the introduction, Gizan. So Goldcrest is mainly a buyer's agent company. And as an independent buyer's agent for expats, our job is to ensure that our clients get the best property with confidence and insight. We do this by exhausting the market and translating the needs and the goals of our clients into tangible outcomes. So our service includes a property search and acquisition, also evaluation and advisory, portfolio analysis in the market. We look at the market and see what's available, and of course we analyze it. Rental market analysis, also not only for purchase properties, and of course the Portugal Golden Visa and other programs, immigration programs that are included in our services along with Global Citizen Solutions.
Okay.
In the last decades, there was a strong investment in urban and building rehabilitation in the center of Porto, in downtown, and then culminated in the appearance of new quality services. The city changed a lot in the last years. And also attracted multinational companies in the big office buildings, along with skilled workers and also from different nationalities. So nowadays, Porto is a multicultural city.
I love Porto, I must say. It's I mean, I really like Lisbon, but like Porto is one of my favorite cities in Portugal. And that is the, what's the name of that museum? So beautiful.
I don't know.
The Serralves
Foundation. Yes, it's the Fundação Serralves. Yeah, it as a museum, and of course other activities, and mainly on the weekends they have several activities that are very good for families. You can go there, and we will find a lot of people every weekends making a lot of activities, and also a lot of expats, families with the children. Is very good for children. Excellent. So I think it's the right place and to talk about today because we are of course approaching this team. So what the Porto itself implemented as a brand, okay, and potentiated a strong growth in tourism and investment in real estate. The Turismo de Portugal, that is the main responsible for the growth in tourism, invested a lot, making a big campaign in abroad, and of course that helped a lot the growth of the city. Besides that, of course, you can. I think this applies to every city in Portugal, but of course we are talking about Porto, so it's no different. There is no difference. Is the one of the safest cities in Europe or in the world, even in the world, with a good gastronomy and welcoming people and a very rich culture. Of course, we cannot forget the fact that is very important, that is qualified. Porto is qualified because of these landscapes as a World Heritage. You will see, if you come to Porto, to Vila Nova de Gaia, you will see the beauty of the city. And I think there are a lot of reasons to come and visit and install here, of course.
Yeah, no, you sold it really well, Fernanda. Yeah, definitely, especially when it comes to gastronomy. I remember visiting one of the restaurants that Anthony Bourdain went in Matosinhos, and I saw in his show. So when I visit Porto, I was like, I want to go to that restaurant. I was so surprised with the world of seafood that was presented to us, and like lots of, I didn't know we had all those animals were edible. It was just so beautiful. It was really, really good stuff. Anyway, I will remember the name of that restaurant and I'll put in the comment section because it's definitely worth a visit. So anyways, we talked about sports, we talked about culture, heritage, about the ecosystem of companies, startups. So it's a very exciting time of year to be in Porto. So now I want to speak to Natalie and ask about the schools element. So as an education consultant, Natalie, what do you think it's important for parents to consider when they choose an international school for their children in a different country?
That's a great question. There are definitely several factors to consider when choosing an international school in a new country. I mean, I would say the basics such as curriculum, academic achievement, pastoral care, extra and co-curricular offering, location, and fees are the key ones, right? And those are only some aspects of the school. So I would say in many cases, it's best to select a school that offers the same or similar curriculum that the child is following in order to minimize academic disruption. And it's also helpful to look for schools that offer activities and sports that the child is interested in to ease that transition. One factor that I actually always highlight to my globally mobile clients is the impact that the parent community at the new school can have on their social life. So as an expat, the school tends to be the social focal point. So the transition to a new country can be smoother if one finds like-minded people who want to socialize. So it's worth doing research on this. The other point is that I also recommend that a family with a child who has special education needs look into what provisions are available at a particular school, as well as what additional support services are available outside of school, because they may not have, or Portugal may not offer the same services that was available in their home country or their country of origin, let's say. So lots to think about.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what you said about the community integration, it really echoes with the concerns of our clients at Global Citizen Solutions. when they come to us and they want to have opportunities where they could mingle with other people, like-minded people. And it's not about they want to be part of the Portuguese society, but it's good to be eased off with an international community around them, so they don't feel completely alienated initially.
Yes, exactly. It's always good to have the support of others who have come from the same country and who understand you. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, and then Fernanda, from your experience as a real estate consultant, what have you observed as the key factors that families consider when they are selecting an international school in Porto?
Yes, so mainly is the focus on academic excellence, extracurricular activities, and of course the character development. I think I should highlight three main aspects. The education is in English, is a very important factor, an international curriculum, and also the possibility to connect with multicultural families. Yeah. Those are the main aspects that are usually the people that I deal with that buy properties in Porto, they refer.
Okay. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense, and it's connecting with everything we say here as three different providers of services. Okay, great. So let's talk about what families are looking for when they speak to Goldcrest, when they come to Goldcrest to look for property. What do they want in terms of property?
Yeah, usually they look for a 2 to 3 bed apartment. Okay. People like a lot and value a classical architecture, like we said, the typical Portuguese with historic facade buildings.
Yeah.
And the tiles and the historic details they appreciate very much. Good outdoor areas, mainly after the pandemic. Of course, I think everyone values the exterior areas, the contact with the nature and the green, and of course close to international schools, close to most of the services and transportation. These are the main aspects that people ask me to look and to have when they purchase a property.
Okay, yeah, no, it makes sense. And so, and then I guess when they're looking for schools as well, so they want the property to be within easy access to the school.
Yes, easy access. Of course, actually, I think that the most interesting areas in Porto to purchase properties for families are near international schools. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Handy.
Yeah, so I think it's easy to find a good property next to an international school because they are located in the same area, mainly in Foz and Boa Vista. So the best properties are also located in that areas.
Yeah. And I think it's also good, Fernanda, to highlight how the transport system in Porto is very good. We're not talking, it's not like London, but the metro goes a bit further to the how do you call that? The outskirts of Porto. So
yes.
That's very useful as well.
Yes, and they are improving it, the metro net. So also you will have another line now in nice. Maybe next year, and you can also use metro to go to Vila de Conde. That is not in Porto. Is in the Porto district, but is in the north, where you have the beaches and seafood and fresh fish. So you can use metro inside Porto, and also in Vila Nova de Gaia, Gondomar, Maia, and even in Vila de Conde, that is in the north area, and is a very good public service regarding transportation. and of course it's not expensive. It costs 30 euros per month, and you can access to everywhere.
Oh wow, that's really good. Excellent. So it's very promising in terms of cost of living and quality of living as well. So very good news for families. So Fernanda, I'm going to ask you another question. So if families are looking for international schools, obviously when they come to you, they want a property and they want some information about international schools. What kind of support do you provide to families?
Like I said, we work very close to Global Citizen Solutions. So we worked with Global Citizen Solutions preparing the international school guide that you already showed. Mm-hmm. So this will be our first support and show you that the options are all over the country. Okay, we helped Global Citizen Solutions prepare this guide, and as we understand clients want to, since we understand what clients want to live close or within short driving distance from the schools, like I said, this is a very this is a factor that people usually value a lot. We will work with them, helping them find the ideal property near the school. Okay, and like I said, the best locations are near international schools, so it's an easy task.
Definitely, and I can only stress how important it is for clients, because sometimes we have clients that enroll kids on their waiting list, their children on waiting lists in schools that they really want, in Algarve, in Cascais, as well as in, we've had one that was at 2 schools in Cascais and 1 school in the Algarve, because that's the style of the school they wanted for their kids. So we, in terms of providing properties for them, you really need to work alongside the needs of the client. So yeah, great job that you do.
To work in both areas, not only in the purchase, in the looking for the right property, but also looking for the right school. And it is something that you have to think with time and prepare with time, for sure.
Right. Okay. So then now, moving on. Is there any real estate trends, importance around the areas that you could share with us? They are good for families, perhaps?
Sure. In the last months, the most of developments that are appearing here in Porto, almost of them show that there is a big concern with the biggest exterior, like I said, areas, outdoor areas, of course, as well, interior areas. People like big spaces. Some of them also offer a concierge service. There's something new here in Porto in the real estate market, but some developments are starting to offer this kind of service.
It's very important for your Amazon delivery.
Yes, you can find every type of services: babysitting, dog walking, laundry, cleaning, everything.
Okay.
You name it. Also, of course, a big concern with the sustainable buildings, not only because of the materials, but also because of the green areas. This is something that people are starting to want, not only the expats, but also the Portuguese, of course, the Portuguese buyers. So integration of several green elements as plants, good amenities like gym, swimming pool, and of course we are starting to find some properties with these characteristics, because this is, like you said, a trend, and these are the main things that people value when they look for a property.
Okay, great, nice. And then just to finalize, Fernanda, then I can, because I want to ask lots of questions to Natalie now, but last one for you. So let me see. Sorry, I'll just rephrase it. Are there any specific neighborhoods that or types of properties that are particularly suitable for families with children?
Yes, like I told you before, I think that Boa Vista, Foz you have the sea and you have the river. And
How far is it from Central Porto?
Sorry?
How far is it from the, just to give a bit of reference to our viewers, let's think of Ribeira, you know, like by the river.
Sure.
How far?
It's not that far. It's 10 to 15 minutes
wow.
By car. But because, you know, downtown Porto is not very good for families.
Yeah.
Because you don't find big apartments and big houses. There are small apartments, usually in Airbnb, lots of tourists, very crowded. So these areas like Foz, Boa Vista, and even Matosinhos that you referred before are the best places for families.
Okay. Okay, great. Excellent. And then if our viewers would like us to give a proper spelling of each of these areas, because you know, it's all in Portuguese, our team will type now the spelling, the correct spelling in Portuguese, so you can do your online your Google research now. Now moving on to Natalie. Let's talk about how you find the school and what you should be looking for. Sharing some tips with our viewers here. Let's talk about the curricula available in international schools. Which are the most common ones in Portugal?
Well, first let me say that there's a variety of international curricula. So we usually think of, and I work mostly with the English language schools, right? But there is a variety. So there are French, German, Dutch, Spanish, and Swedish schools offering their home country curriculum, so in their own language. But here we speak mostly of English language international schools, and there's a growing offering of those schools in the country. And these schools offer three main curriculums. So the American, the British, and the International Baccalaureate, or IB as it's more commonly known. So the British curriculum is the most common around the country, meaning it's offered at the most number of schools. In fact, in the Algarve and in Porto, one can only find British curriculum schools, with one school in Porto offering the IB diploma program. So to clarify, when speaking of the IB, most usually refer to the IB diploma program, which is for teens aged 16 to 18. But an IB curriculum for children as young as 3 years old does exist. And there are 3 full-through IB schools catering to children aged 3 to 18, which are located in the Lisbon region.
Okay, I see. And I don't know if it's relevant. It's not the curriculum, I'd say, but do you want to mention any alternative methods of education, pedagogical styles are appealing? Because some parents are looking for a Montessorian sort of education. Is also available in Portugal?
Yes, indeed. Thanks for bringing that up. There is also a growing number of these alternative or progressive curriculum schools. So that means Montessori, Reggio Emilia, forest schools, and there are more of them being offered in the English language. So there's a mix. There are some Portuguese-only Portuguese language schools offering those pedagogies, it's called, so methods of teaching. But also there are more English language schools that offer that as well, which is really exciting for families because more and more families ask for those type of curriculums, mainly for younger children under 12. But there is the option as well.
Yeah, but that's great that the options are here. Okay, so now let's talk about the practicalities. Can you walk us through the general admissions for an international school? What's the process? Is there any specific requirements that parents need to start preparing?
Yeah, also a great question. So most admissions processes are quite straightforward and they're well explained on the school website. So I always recommend to families that they use the websites as a resource, as well as reach out to the admissions teams at the schools because they are very helpful as well. But the first step is typically to visit the school. And I recommend that families visit all of the schools on their short list, as it's a great way to get a feel for it. So after the visit, the family may decide not to progress with the application at a particular school. So they kind of discount some, right? If they decide to move forward, families will need to complete a simple application form, which asks for basic facts about the family and the child, such as the name, citizenship, address, previous school, etc. Families will also need to provide school reports as well as copies of their passports. And keep in mind that families don't need to provide a Portuguese fiscal number, nor do they need to have an address in Portugal in order to apply to an international school. That can all be given later on once you've settled here.
Yeah.
And also, depending on the age of the child, a school may require an interview and/or an online assessment, meaning an online test to determine their academic ability.
That's
so once all of this
is, kids, yeah.
Yes, so usually it varies by school, but very roughly, let's say a 9-10-year-old and up.
Okay.
So once all of this is submitted, the school either places the family on the wait list, offers them a place if one is available, or they inform the family that the school is not the right fit for them. That usually doesn't happen, but does happen in some cases.
So that's why it's good
yes, to apply to various schools. Yeah, absolutely. Especially now that the demand is so high, more schools are opening, but there's just been, as you know, an incredible influx of expats.
Yeah.
And so, especially, it's not easy to get a place at your top choice school, right? So I always recommend that families apply to at least 3 schools, maybe even 4, depending on the schools that they're applying to.
Okay, I think you answered my next question. Was that was about if there was a high demand for enrollment in international schools. So, and then I'd like to add some information here that data from CEF, which is international, the Foreign Borders Office here in Portugal, accounts for 45,000 UK citizens and over 7,000 American citizens. And I'm not even talking about other nationalities. So that obviously has been reflecting on the number of international schools because of the demands of those citizens here. Is there anything you wanted to say on that?
Yes, and particularly regarding Porto, because Porto has, it's a more unique market, let's say, within Portugal, because it has a more limited number of international schooling options. Speaking about English language schools, right? They do have the French school and the German school as well. So given that there are less schools in Porto, one can see it that it's in a way easier to tackle that schools market because there are only 2 English language schools, the main schools, which are CLIP and the Porto British School. On the other hand, the fact that there are only 2 schools makes it more difficult to secure a place, as these schools are full and there isn't much turnover. So I mean, thankfully, more schooling options are on the way. In fact, there's also a growing trend for traditionally Portuguese schools to offer an English language section offering the British curriculum. So one such program is going to launch this September. So it's great news for families who really want to be in Porto, but who before may not have been able to settle there because they couldn't find an international school.
Yeah, that's a good point. We also had a parent who talked to us in the previous live about how he decided to enroll his younger kid in a Portuguese school, and how it helps them integrating to the local community. So yeah, it's a good point, but also because the school also offered very good teaching of English there.
Right.
So now, what kind of advice would you give to parents who are starting their research on international schools in Porto? Where should they begin?
Well, as always, I recommend that families visit the schools and apply as early as possible in order to increase their chances of being offered a place. So given that the 2 main schools are currently full, a child would have to leave in order for a place to become available. So for this reason, families typically won't receive a reply from the school until March, because March is the deadline for current families to indicate whether they're re-enrolling or not for next September. So it's also a good idea to visit new schools that are offering the British curriculum in Porto. And sometimes if the Portuguese curriculum is not an option for a family, for some families it is, especially if they have younger children, to your point before. But if English is the only option for the family, they may want to also explore schools in a different city in order to have more options as backup options in case the school in Porto doesn't come through.
Okay. That's very, very good advice. Thank you. I'm also learning lots here. So, Fernanda, are you also a parent?
Yes, I am.
So it's good that the advice is coming from people that also not saying that people that don't have kids will not be able to give such, depth knowledge of the international international school landscape in Portugal. But it's always good to hear from people that kind of understand what are the feelings and the challenges that parents go through when they choose a school. So now we are reaching the end of our live, and we have a couple of minutes, 3.5, to answer some questions. I do hope to answer most of the questions. I'll try to condense them into a couple of questions, so then you're able to clarify everything. But if not, do not worry. Your question will be answered as soon as we publish this video. We will be able to leave the question there. We will be able to answer in the comment section. So let's start. Hang on. Let me have a look here and see how I could put together some questions here. Now, this one here, I think it's a very interesting one. What are the typical costs associated with international schooling in Portugal, Natalie? And then also, any hidden costs that parents should be aware of when they are budgeting for children's education abroad?
So in terms of international schooling, it very much varies by region in Portugal. Mm-hmm. So the Lisbon region has the most pricey options, with yearly fees averaging around 15,000 euros for primary and middle school students, and 20,000 euros per year for upper school, meaning the last mm-hmm. 4 years of school. Porto is not as pricey. In fact, it's one of the reasons why a lot of families are now moving to that city. Fees there are roughly half of those, some of the schools in the Lisbon region. And Algarve varies more depending on the school. So some schools are more similar to Porto prices, and others are a bit more closer to Lisbon prices. Yeah. So around, let's say, 10,000 for primary middle school and 15,000 euros per year for average for upper school. Mm-hmm. In terms of fees you should be aware of, most schools include everything in that one tuition fee. What you can look out for is the meals. Sometimes meals are charged separately. Mm-hmm. Transportation costs are always charged separately in case you would like a school bus. And most schools do offer a school bus, or at least introduce you to some local van services. And then extracurriculars. So clubs at some schools are included, and at other schools, the clubs are.
I have one here that I think would be perfect for Fernanda. I don't know if she has the answer. I hope so. What's the average price of a 3-bedroom property in Porto? So that's a very specific question here.
Yeah, very specific, but a very good question also. So the average prices in Porto is 4,000 euros per square meter. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you are talking of a 3-bed apartment, the average price is around 800,000 euros. More or less, of course. This is the average. You can also find more expensive, but in general, this is the average price.
Okay, that's a good one. Now, someone is asking here about the expat landscape in Porto. How can you connect with an international community? Fernanda, you live in Porto. Are you able to answer that one?
Yeah. So Porto is a very international city. Like I said, it's getting more international each day. I live there myself, and I can testify it. So this is a very popular destination for foreigners looking to live and also to work abroad. Porto offers a very high quality of life. I should say, like it has a very rich cultural heritage, and is very affordable. The cost of living is affordable comparing to other European cities, or even with Portuguese cities, because we feel the difference, for example, between Lisbon and Porto in some areas. Porto is an ecosystem for startups. Every day new startups arrive to Porto, and also work hubs, and lots of expats meet in groups. So the work environment in Porto is helping people to integrate.
Yes. And Work Hub, I must say, is a great place to meet people. I've met so many expats myself when I worked from Work Hubs in Lisbon, so I can definitely I can testify to that one. It's a very good one to good way to make friends. So now let's move on. There's a very interesting one here, Fernanda, which I think is good for you, and it just complements what you've been saying about the cost of living. This life is about international schooling, but when a family is moving, they want to factor in all costs, and I think this question is really good. So I want that answered, please.
Healthcare insurance. We have a very good healthcare insurance, and you should pay 800 euros more or less per year.
Yeah.
So I think it's affordable. I think, and the quality of our hospitals and doctors is very recognized worldwide. So even in this area, I think that we have a very good response.
Okay. That's good. A good point. We're about to launch, actually. Sorry, I'm just bringing that up because I think it's a good one. We're launching a healthcare guide, which is it tends to be a concern from our American clients, also from the UK clients, because they get they have a good public system back in the UK, and from the Americans, they want to know how much they will be paying. So, and it's good to know that there is a public healthcare system that is highly subsidized. So you can have a look at our healthcare guide. So hopefully our team will be able to share with you now, and if not, just go to our website and you will see it there. I have time for one more question, guys. I'm so sorry, but it's a very good one. And Natalie, that one is for you. How does the Portuguese curriculum compares to the international curriculum?
Well, I get that question a lot from my clients, actually, who are considering the Portuguese curriculum. And the one thing they want to know really, is it a good preparation for university? And yes, it is. So children who graduate with a secondary school diploma from Portugal will be able to apply to international universities, not only in Portugal. And the curriculum, should be noted, is particularly strong in maths. Now, the main difference between the Portuguese and an American, British, and especially IB curriculum is the pedagogy, or how it's taught. So the Portuguese curriculum is more traditional and focused on rote learning and memorization, whereas the other curriculums are a bit more focused on developing critical thinking and collaborative skills. Okay. So that's, in general, differences. Of course, depends on the school and so forth, but that's the general difference.
Good. Nice that it is a concern also from your client. Okay, ladies, thank you very much, but this is a wrap up. We don't have any more time to carry on here. But it was great chatting to you. And I do hope our viewers also learned a lot. And if you are considering moving to Porto, it's worth having a chat with Fernanda. If you are considering a school as well, get in touch with Natalie. And if you need help with visa and relocation services, we're here to help you. And thank you very much, Fernanda and Natalie.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Great. I'm glad it was an interesting live for you too, because I know how hard it is to talk and but anyway, it's all natural, all good. Guys, girls, sorry, thank you, and I'll see you all tomorrow. We are not all, I mean, not Fernanda, but I'll see Natalie tomorrow. We will talk about the region of the Algarve, and that will be the last of our lives covering the schools, international schools of Portugal. So thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye.